You're listening to an episode recorded during the time Innovation Fuel was part of University Canada West. We are proud and grateful for the work we've done together, and we want to thank the university for being in our podcast. We are now excited to continue the journey of Innovation Fuel into its next chapter. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Innovation Fuel, a business podcast by University Canada West.
Bringing you fantastic stories from accomplished entrepreneurs and key industry professionals. Let's explore the entrepreneurial world through local businesses and our university community. Hi, Gelareh. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Living the dream as usual. One of the things that I struggle with sometimes is making decisions, and making decisions not only with my heart, but my head. Elements like, sometimes I'm passionate about something. I want to pursue something because I feel good about it and it's a good thing to do. But sometimes the actual practical outcome of doing it probably might not be the smartest direction to go with it. It might not be the right way or the right business sense to this element, but I still feel like I need to go with it.
It's not just about your business decision. It can be your personal decision. So when you want to make a big decision, sometimes there is a fight between what you feel good about it and what you feel this is the right things to do. And most of the time in this stage, people stay idle for a while because they don't know which pathway they have to go. And actually that's being idle for a long time. It's going to waste your energy, it's going to waste your time, and also you may lose opportunities if you just stay idle.
But I think, and this is one thing that we know for entrepreneurs is the failure to act is the death knell element. So failure to move forward, the failure to take that action element. And sometimes this complex element of the head versus the heart is balancing each other and fighting each other, but no one's winning this battle until we actually just do and go forth.
Sometimes you really need to take responsibility, take the actions, because when you take the action, you have energy to do it. And sometimes, especially in business decisions, this is not a right or wrong way. It's about how you're doing it. You can pick the best option, but you do it in a very wrong way. So you can fail. Or you pick something that is not your best options, but you do it great and you will be successful. So it's okay. It's okay for a while you don't make decisions because you want to think about it. But if you stay in this stage, is not good things. You should move forward. It doesn't matter if it's your head or if it's your heart.
Love it. I love it. And I think we might have someone today that might be struggling with certain situations around this we might be able to learn from his experience.
Let's welcome Paolo Lobo, President of Proteic, to another episode of Innovation Fuel. Hi, Paolo. How are you, Dave?
Yes, Gelareh. Welcome to another episode of Innovation Fuel, brought to you by University Canada West. Yes, we have some exciting discussions today. Both Gelareh and I love this space. We're talking about technology. We're talking advancement in technology. We might even talk about biotechnology and some things in this space. Before we get there, we've got to understand who we're talking with today. So we've got to invite Pablo. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Dave. Before I start that, I actually wanted to talk to Gelareh directly as well and say that myself and Proteic, we really stand in solidarity with you, not just as somebody from Iran, but in particular as a woman from Iran, a successful woman from Iran. What's going on there must be pretty painful to witness. And I hope just us expressing that we're with you would help get through this tough time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, it's a tough time for our people. Yes. And for all women. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Paolo.
Yeah, so to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Paolo. Born in Kenya. I moved to Canada to study at UBC. I did a master's in X-ray crystallography, but then transitioned into industry where I had some experience in the diagnostics world, in vitro diagnostics, and then moved to protein expression and manufacture. And now at Proteic, what we do is we try and take this tech revolution, artificial intelligence revolution, and combine it with a protein revolution, which is changing how we tackle major modern problems, like basically designing proteins to help diagnostics and therapeutics.
That's a great thing, but a little bit, can you explain your product?
Sure. So the best way I could explain it is to design the perfect jigsaw piece that would be able to use the applications of which, the simplest example I can give is a COVID test, because everybody now knows what a COVID test is. The way a COVID test would work is you have a jigsaw piece immobilized, waiting to bind COVID in your sample as it flows on the strip. And that perfect jigsaw piece is what we're looking to design. Traditionally, right now, most tests work by using an antibody. But antibodies have their difficulties in manufacture, synthesis, reproducibility, and they have a lot of interference with what they call heterophilic interference. So if somebody happened to have a lot of exposure to animals, goats, mice, rabbits, and those are the antibodies that are being used in the test may not work for them. And that is a pretty significant issue. Having a smaller, simpler, synthesizable jigsaw piece that you could use to replace that antibody could revolutionize the diagnostic industry.
We're hearing a lot about this element around that protein element. Like it's been in the news a lot. Can you take us further down a little bit the connection between the protein and this diagnostic testing?
The reason why this protein world is now familiar, I think outside the academic world even, is because of, you can see how seriously the biggest names in tech are taking it. With AlphaFold 2 coming out, that is predicting the folding of structures. Meta just came out with ESM Fold. Rosetta Fold has already existed. These are examples of tech at its best, taking on a folding problem and trying to figure out what 3D shape a protein would take. And what has happened is majority of people have, rightly so, I would say, tried to tackle the biggest problems, and that would probably be in the therapeutic space. People are now trying to design drugs from using proteins from scratch to take on all sorts of, it's the same strategy, designing protein that would make a perfect fit. But that's kind of where the world is right now. And from a diagnostic angle, it's just a kind of a translation of the same technology to try and catch diseases before they happen. If you look at things like breast cancer, for example, where if you catch it at stage 0 and stage 1, you've got 100% chance of surviving. If you catch it at stage 3 and 4, I think stage 3 is like 70% and stage 4 is like even worse than that. It really highlights how important it is for things like early detection. If you could do a blood test and just know immediately that you could have breast cancer, you would want to do that when you're at stage 0 and stage 1. And that's what the potential, the opportunity is for this technology.
So to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, so your consumer is all people can do it, but your customer, who's your customer? Who you sell your product to?
So this kind of speaks to kind of company development and chapters in a company, because I can speak to you about our goal of being that company down the line, with funds running and, we're just floating in money. Not the case in today's market. We are at a place in our chapter right now where our customer would be an IVD manufacturer, people who are actually putting the test together. And this makes a lot of business sense, because one of the biggest reasons is we keep the regulatory burden. So making an IVD test has got its, you have to be Health Canada certified, FDA or MD SAP and ISO. All this accreditation needs to be in place. There are companies out there that already have that. If you can keep that burden in, let's say, a CRO or an existing IVD manufacturer, that would be, in our current situation, ideal. We provide the necessary starting materials to make an IVD test, but keep ourselves distanced from having the full-on quality management system in place And that comes with the financial burdens of having the right people and infrastructure as well.
By not being that element and not being that facility with, being that process, wouldn't that mean that you could be faster to market? Because the speed to market should be a really big, challenge, because you've got other competitors that are probably entering this space as this element comes to play.
That's a huge, huge point, Dave. We initially, because I kind of will try to be humble, but we'll say that we have really great molecules. And we started down this path being able to design molecules in the therapeutic space because it's so attractive to go down that route. But that path to commercialization for a therapeutic molecule is 6 to 8 years with clinical trials and millions of dollars of investment. The in vitro diagnostics, even if we were the people with the regulatory burden, it would still only take us a year. I came from the in vitro diagnostics field. I worked in Vancouver here at a really good in vitro diagnostics company. So I know the path to commercialization from the time you start developing a test to the time you're selling it to an actual customer can be less than a year, which is very attractive to investors. So early startup like us, that pivot was necessary. And it actually worked out very well for us because I come from that field anyway. I did find myself swimming in a lot of deep water in the therapeutic space, which I'm happy to do and happy to learn. But I'm in a more comfortable place now talking about diagnostics.
So to my understanding, you have two products, right? One is testing, one is therapy.
The first one was therapy. We still have it. It's still there. But the burden to push that through is where that's kind of sitting through. And we're talking to different people about how we can get that in the right partnership, push that through clinical trials. And that's still there. And it's a great molecule. It's a oncology anti-cancer molecule. And then you're right. The second is a testing incorporation into an in vitro diagnostic.
Which one do you think for you is more faster way to commercialize it?
Definitely the diagnostic. We learned the hard way that even great looking results in the therapeutic space, it doesn't come with the traction that you would expect it to. And more, we would be expected to do a lot of the early legwork, to do the preclinical studies ourselves. And that comes with a cost as well. If you can't get it that far enough, then you don't really even enter clinical trials. Whereas with the diagnostic molecule, you can partner with somebody early on and get the test commercialized in less than a year.
Do you know what I'm thinking about? It's not clear for me. It's about your intellectual property. If you go for IVD manufacture, about your diagnosis, what will happen to your intellectual property? You will be partnered with them? That's your plan? Or you can sell it?
That is a great question because that is exactly what we're wrestling with right now. But I consider it a good problem to have because we now have several business plan decisions. Either we sell everything up front for a fee, and that's kind of like a fee for service. We design a molecule for you and you can incorporate it into your thing and it's all yours now, and we take something up front. Or we keep the intellectual property of the binder and have some kind of royalty or something paid towards us if somebody wants to incorporate it. Or we can share revenue. It is a difficult conversation, and I think one that most likely will involve lots of discussions with lawyers. And I know everybody loves discussions with lawyers, but I think it's inevitable.
But but it opens the door too, because there probably is an ethical element here, because you do have sounds like some amazing technology that's going to speed up diagnosis. And then where do you go with it? Like, where is the ethical approach to it? Meaning that, how do I get it? Because I'm sure, Pablo, you're probably going, I want to get this to market because I want to save lives, versus, you have the other side of it says, I want to get it to market because I want to make lots of money on it. And so how do you make those decisions about the ethical element, and you want to get it somewhere, and where can you get it and how do you get it there?
I have always been more on the save lives side. And if we can make less money and save more lives, that would be ideal. So right now there are places that we aren't even talking to yet, but I'll name drop anyway, because I think they're great companies like Find Diagnostics. I think if we can partner with somebody like them and be able to, so this is my vision. in Africa, let's say sub-Saharan Africa, we were able to empower IVD manufacturers there. So we can make them the start materials, design them for them, but they can actually develop and manufacture it there in sub-Saharan Africa, where they can now distribute malaria tests or HPV tests or something like that, where it can really make an impact. And I've already said, early diagnosis saves more lives than therapy afterwards and trying to fight it. So if we can make that kind of impact, I mean, this is really talking years down the line, but that would be ideal.
I think this is the confusion for entrepreneurs to see that which pathway they have to go is very, very common. And I think that we are in a very great stage talking to you that we want to, because most of the time when we talk to the entrepreneurs, they pass this stage already. And it's not really easy to capture that confusion. This is the big decision for any entrepreneurs, that which pathway they want to go and how they want to go. They want to be part of the large company, or they want to be partner with someone, or just sell it to someone else and do something else. This is a great thing. So for you, let's break it down. What is the pros and cons for each options you have it? What is the pros and cons of selling your products to any IVD manufacturer, for example?
It's definitely worth thinking about. I think one of the good things about having different product-based verticals is that we can sell different molecules in different spaces. So I will have a much better idea of what the pros and cons are once we have, a molecule where we've licensed everything out, and we have a molecule that is something that we completely retain, and another one where it's we will have a lot in all these different places. But what you bring up is something that I actually do need to really think about, because like I just said, right now I'm planning on doing that kind of in an experiential way, and that might not be the best way to do it. I should really take your words, Gelareh, a little bit, think about it myself, and actually go through these pros and cons and figure out what could work better from a business perspective.
And what drives you to have your business, right? And working with someone else or working for someone else? What drives you that you think that I want my own company to do it?
Yeah, I think I would go back to the saving lives kind of thing. I think that's one of the reasons why people always go down the therapeutic route, is because that's what they associate more closely with saving lives. But I mean, I'm very much a proponent of saying diagnostics will save more lives than therapeutics.
But you could also coin it in the same line. Like, if I have an ultimate vision to save lives, great, I'm going to save lives. But in the early stages, I know I can save lives right now with diagnostics. Get that to market real quick. Now I'm moving forward into, okay, I can still work with the molecules. I can still continue down that pathway, the long-term vision of this element. So, Pablo, I think you might be onto something with the element of, trying to figure out these things by testing them in the market, by testing some of the avenues with them. But I think one of the challenges, and I'm just would speak from my past experience, but one of the challenges when you're dealing with technology and we're dealing with things that are very quick and having to move fast is the element of, once you discover it, you got to blitzscale it, meaning, or someone else is going to come take your lunch. And I think, that element of that, and I know what Gelareh is saying is that, yes, value creation, I want to be this, I want to save lives, but I also need to get this to market real quickly or someone else is going to come in and take that away from me.
Yeah, and I think that's where knowing the pros and cons of what the best route is, once we got a good molecule, we need to get that to commercialization. That route, and knowing the pros and cons of I think about 3 different options that we could choose with a partner, we're going to need to be very good at that. And I hope at some point I'll be able to be somebody that can tell you this is the way to go. But right now, I would just be making up something if I told you that I knew the answer to it.
No, I don't think this is any right answer for anything. So any pathway you go, it's a right way to go. It depends on what do you feel after that one. So how much you feel successful after that one. But all of them are the right pathway. My question is going to be that, how easy is it to have a competitor in your area?
I like that question because it also adds to the reason of choosing diagnostics from a business perspective. Like, I have talked a lot about, the, I guess, ethical, moral reasons why I think diagnostics can save a lot of lives. And yes, has a feel-good factor. But from a purely competitive point of view, the biggest competitors, like I mentioned, AlphaFold, ESM Fold from Meta, these people are all tackling therapeutics because they have manpower, they have billions of dollars behind them. And I will add that it's not like these people have solved the design problem of proteins. They have solved if you give them a sequence, they can fold it for you. The therapeutic and diagnostic design process involves almost the reverse. You have a structure and a shape, and you want to generate a sequence from that. But that being said, the biggest players out there, and this is not necessarily because they've got better tech, because I can sit here and tell you we've got really great minds, but until we prove ourselves, that's a different story. But the biggest PR names, so the ones names people have heard, they're going after therapeutics. So it makes the competitive landscape better option for an early startup protein design company.
So to my understanding is it's difficult to design it, right? But when you design it, it's replicated is easy, right? So, and again, how easy is it to design it for someone else?
This comes down to, it's a bit of a technical jargon here, but it comes down to knowing the energy of the molecules or the energy function that will decide what's the most stable molecule that you make. And it comes down to an algorithm that can optimize to sort all those energies. Once you've got a whole bunch of solutions, you need to be able to rank them. Everybody has their own take and their own solution. Our CSO would be the first to tell you, we're not going to sit here and tell you with 100% certainty we are the best out there. We know we're very good, but until you actually give two people the exact same problem and look at the outcome, you're not going to know the difference between the two. But to answer your question, that it comes down to a statistical thing. If you were to make there are 20 different amino acids, and if you were to make 100 amino acid solution, combinations and permutations are more than, if I was to pick one out of all of them, it's like one of those grain of sand on the entire planet kind of possibilities. So that kind of explains the difficulties purely from a statistical angle in designing the perfect protein. But yeah, that's where artificial intelligence comes in and machine learning to try and better the process.
The reason I'm asking is I want to see that how easy is it for your competitors to come and take your lunch and take it, that's what I'm asking. And so I have another question. So what is the best way to impact in society?
For us, it would be to see tests out there that we helped develop and make a real world impact, both from, obviously that feel good factor, but from then a marketing perspective after that becomes almost like a snowball where you help develop something that helped malaria in East Africa. Great. Now that people will be like, they know what they're doing. And this goes to stealing your lunch. If you are that company who have ended malaria in East Africa, now you're in the position to be stealing lots of lunch because people trust your technology, and it comes down at the end of the day to proving yourself. And that's what we are currently in the position of trying to do, getting something out there to prove ourselves.
And, and this is interesting, Gelareh, because we've had this conversation with even seasoned entrepreneurs that have had businesses that launched and had this conversation back. And I think we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago with another individual. It's like, hey, too many entrepreneurs take their time in trying to perfect something. And I know Pablo was saying something about, like that element of like, it's not perfect. Well, I think the best thing that we've learned along the way is that even if it's not perfect, getting it out to market and getting some exposure to it is the best way to get going on something. I don't know, Pablo, I don't know if that applies to you in the biotech space.
Definitely. That is huge. I needed to hear that actually. In the biotech space, especially in the protein design space, you could optimize and optimize and optimize and get one end to bind as best as you can and keep going and not know when it is to take a molecule through all the way through clinical trials or in incorporation into whatever its application is. And at some point, making that decision to just go for it is needed.
What do you want to see? Do you want to see your brand? It's in the package of the test diagnosis, or do you want to see someone else's brand recognition of you?
And the honest answer is that even today, I switch back and forth. I think if we could, on one side, I feel like if we could help even big names, Abbott, Roche, and help them, everybody develop tests, we're saving more lives. We're really touching the globe. On the other side, there's maybe that sense of accomplishment and pride, the good pride that you can actually see your product out there saving lives, which would be fantastic. And I go back and forth, and I think for me, probably not the right way to make decisions, but making the decisions with your heart rather than your head. And this is why you're talking about your pros and cons and having to go through them in my head, because I feel like I often make decisions thinking about what my heart wants to do, and I should be making decisions because you can make those decisions and then nothing could happen, and then you flatline and the company falls. But I need to make that vision decision based on looking at all the pros and cons about which direction we should take and what our final goal is.
Yeah, it's great. And I think this is something I think that we need to let the audience know this, because a lot of budding entrepreneurs and even entrepreneurs struggle with the balance between heart and head. And how do you move forward with that, with the idea and whether you should run or not run. So I love it. Paolo, we've had a great conversation here, and we could go on forever, but let's circle back on one thing before we end our show. We always like to ask our guests to throw out a challenge to the audience. Now, the challenge could be a macro challenge, some big picture idea that we should be thinking about, or it could be a micro challenge that you and your organization are facing that we maybe can throw into a class, and let's see if we can get some ideas budding for you and your organization.
I think both in the diagnostic space and the therapeutic space, a target selection or biomarker selection is a big hurdle. And having people get together, crowdsource, figure out, and this probably might even extend to the academic world, where being able to feed that information into businesses that are looking to develop therapeutics and diagnostics would be huge. And I guess I would challenge people to share that information more. I do get that that's also a business in itself. You probably will speak to people who that's what their goal is to analyze a whole bunch of data and figure out this is the biomarker, this protein X, this protein Z, and this protein K or something. If we can monitor these very well, we'll know if somebody has a lung cancer or something. And that's their business. But getting more of that information out would help all kind of healthcare.
Love it.
Fantastic. That was a great episode. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Paolo. That was another episode of Innovation Fuel. Thank you for listening to Innovation Fuel. We are on all podcast streaming platforms, Google, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Visit our website at www.ucanwest.ca/innovationfuel. Also, follow us on Instagram at innovation_fuel.